Welcome back, class. We are talking about describing matter in this unit. So we're going to start off with a brief discussion on what the different types of properties are. Now, the properties of matter can be described in many different ways. We're going to break it down into just 3 different categories. For this video, I would like you to pause each time you see a new slide completed, and then I will give you time to copy the notes through pausing, and then when you unpause, you will be able to hear what I have to say about the actual notes. Here we go. You can pause now. So there's 2 types of data that we're going to be dealing with. One of them is qualitative, and the other is quantitative. Qualitative and quantitative contrast each other because qualitative does not have any measurements. Quantitative, on the other hand, you can think of the word quantity. So there will be a number associated with that substance or that measurement that's being made. Qualitative things can be observed and they can be detected without any type of measuring device. Quantitative, on the other hand, need to be measured. So this is the first way that we're going to differentiate things. You can pause the video here. So the next category is extensive versus intensive. The extensive properties are going to be properties of matter that depend on the sample size. Extensive, you can think of the little prefix here, ext, like exterior. Think of the outside properties of the sample. Another way you can think about it is, can the extensive properties change? And that is a yes, they can change. So if you have a property that you can change, then it has to be extensive. One example is the mass of a substance. If I have a weigh boat and there's a small amount of particles, then the mass is going to be less than if I have a lot of the particles. Because the mass of a sample can change, that means that mass is an extensive property. The same would go for the volume. If you can change the volume, then that is an extensive property. Intensive properties, on the other hand, will never change. So it doesn't matter how much you have, they will remain the same. So intensive do not change. It's based on the internal pieces of the system. For example, density. Water, whether you have 1 liter of water, the density is 1.00 grams per milliliter. If you have a swimming pool full of water, then the density of that is still going to be 1.00 grams per milliliter. So it does not matter what the sample size is, just a very little amount or a huge amount of water. The densities are still the same. The same goes with melting point and boiling point. It doesn't matter how much substance you have, they're still going to end up melting and boiling at the same temperature, because that is an intensive property, and that property is fixed. Intensive properties typically can be used to identify substances. So if you have 2 different substances, they should theoretically have 2 different densities. So intensive properties are really helpful in the laboratory setting when we're trying to find out, are 2 substances the same? So we would call that analytical chemistry. Analytical chemistry is when you are differentiating the identity of substances, and intensive properties are going to help us do that. So extensive changes, intensive does not change. You can pause the video now. Physical properties. Physical properties are the properties that can be measured, observed, without changing the composition. Now, when we're talking about the composition, we're talking about the chemical formula. Okay? So composition is the formula of the substance. And the most common formula that most of us are familiar with is water, H2O. So for every one molecule of water, there's 2 hydrogens and there's 1 oxygen. It doesn't matter what you do to that sample, as long as it's still H2O, then that must have been a physical property. So, for example, boiling. If we have water in its liquid form, so let's think of water kind of in a beaker. So we have the liquid water in here, and then we heat up the water. So let's just say it's 30 degrees Celsius. And then we take that water and then we heat it up to 120 degrees Celsius. So that water is going to evaporate. It's going to boil into gas particles. But the gas particles are still technically H2O. They just change the state of matter. So therefore, boiling is a physical property. Conductivity and magnetism are tricky ones for people. The key thing is with conductivity, it's allowing electricity or heat to pass through the substance. It's not generating its own electricity or heat. So conductivity is a physical property. Magnetism as well. You can test if something is magnetic or not without actually changing the substance. Think about the magnets you put on your refrigerator. Before and after you test to see if the metal is magnetic, it's still the same metal. So the composition did not change. The different phases of matter can often be a little bit confusing when you're changing back and forth between things. However, all changes of matter are physical properties and physical changes. So here's just a little review of what the properties or the states of matter are. You can pause the video now. So the states of matter, the only thing that changes here is the temperature. So from a solid to a liquid, it's still the same substance, you just increase the temperature. It went from a fixed shape and a fixed volume, something that's rigid, to something that has a fixed volume and a loosely held together shape. So the liquid is going to take the shape of this container. A gas, you heat it up even more, is no longer going to have a fixed shape. So the gases are compressible. And there is actually a difference between a gas and a vapor. A gas is typically a gas at room temperature. But when that substance is a liquid or a solid at room temperature, that's when we tend to use the word vapor. So think of water. Water, typically at room temperature, is a liquid, but there can be some vapor in the atmosphere. Because it's mostly a liquid at room temperature, we use the word vapor. Gasoline is the same thing. Gas is a liquid that we pump into our vehicles. However, when you smell that substance, it would be a vapor, because typically it's a liquid. Plasma is a very, very high energy state of matter. For plasma, you can think of lightning, or you can think of the surface of the sun. So very, very high energy objects, very, very high energy states of matter. You could pause the video now. A chemical property is a property that cannot be observed without actually changing the substance. So there's no way for you to just observe chemical properties unless you're actually putting them through a change. So these are some of the few examples that I could come up with of chemical properties. They all involve a change in composition. So remember, change in composition, we're talking about the chemical formulas. So before the substance has certain chemical bonds or chemical structure. After, it is something completely different. So if that happens, then whatever you were testing must have been a chemical property. So when something rusts, it is a chemical change because rusting is a chemical property. Flammability. If something is flammable, that is a chemical property because you can't unburn the substance. It is a different substance completely. Toxic. Toxic just means poison. So if something is poisonous, then it is a chemical property of that substance. If something is inert, that means that it resists chemical change. Typically, it doesn't react at all, and that still is a chemical property. So that's our introduction to the properties of matter. We have qualitative versus quantitative. We have extensive versus intensive. And then there's physical and chemical properties. The next thing we're going to look at are changes in matter.